thing I would emphasize.
part of the argument though on crypto when it comes to the regulatory regime is or would be that it's already reached escape velocity. That it's at a level now that there's so much value around the globe that it'll be almost impossible to shut down. It's a little bit like Uber. I
Well,
oftentimes think about it like Uber because when Uber started, people thought regulators were going to shut it down, but they grew so fast, so quickly that all of a sudden regulators didn't really have a choice. They just had to figure out a way to deal with it.
Yeah, okay. There are a couple of things in that. First of all, no, I think that it's easier to deal with now. If you didn't, let's step back. Governments don't want alternative currencies, okay? Because and throughout history, we see that they want control over the currencies for all the various things.
Especially when you have a successful currency. But if you have a lousy currency,
That's what I mean.
like El Salvador.
Well, I mean, or there since 1700, there have been about 750 currencies. Only 20% of those are still in existence, and all of those have been significantly devalued at one point or another.
Okay.
So we don't have to pick El Salvador. We can pick the German. We could can go through history and pick the most credible ones. It's the norm, right? And so, in any case, what I'm saying is that you don't want, if you're holding a currency, or it's an awfully good way to print money and get the money around, which is going to devalue. Because what is a debt that you're holding? Currency equals a debt.
Right.
And it means that you receive something and now you have no interest rate on it and they're producing a lot of it.
Right.
Okay. And so it's the way out. It's ultimately the way out. Because if you keep it hard, if you keep it hard, you have a big debt crisis. And if you don't keep it hard, you don't keep it hard. So history's always been the devaluation. So there's a point of that. And they want that.
Right.
Because if you look at history, if they don't have that, but think about that dilemma. Just the fact that we're talking about the possibility of that dilemma means that you're going to want something else. And I don't see why one has to be, there's not even enough choices of those types of things. So we could take Bitcoin, or you could take gold, or you could take, let's say, the advantage of both of those is their money. You easily transfer it. It's very different than real estate, let's say, or equities.
Right.
Now, equities are in a sense, pretty portable.
Pretty portable.
Okay. And that's real value. Okay. So it has the same attributes as long as it's going to be real value. And when inflation changes and so on, its value can change along those lines. So equities are a very viable alternative.
Right.
They're a good alternative. But you think of this category of things that can't be devalued. So the equity bull market that we're having is an extension of that. It's the same thing. Don't differentiate it. What did you think happened? We distribute a lot more credit and a lot more money. There's a flow of funds. There's a mechanics to it. You have a lot more money. You get the money, and then you buy things. An investor who gets the money, when there's an intervention, when the central bank buys, they buy a bond from an investor. And the investor gets cash. And what do? They invest it someplace else. And all through that process, there's the mechanical part of that. And that's what you're getting. So I don't think we even have to split hairs in terms of the one or another, just to make sure you have enough of a diversified portfolio of that and know what kind of an environment we're in. And we're talking now about the money and credit part of that. We also should be talking about the wealth gap part of that, because that affects it, because there has to be a transfer of wealth. Okay. Right. So that's going to affect investors, how that transfer taxes and those things are going to take place. And then you have to take a global view of these things, which includes China and other countries. So it's all of those things.
Okay, I want to dig into